In Epping this week, Kemi Badenoch has floated the idea of setting up migrant camps as an alternative to housing asylum seekers in hotels. I don't think that's a new idea. I think she had that idea while she was in power and it didn't work then. She framed it as a pragmatic question. Is it possible to set up camps and police them rather than bringing all this hassle into communities? The remarks have sparked immediate controversy. Refugee Action called them deeply troubling, warning they contribute to an incendiary atmosphere and emboldening far-right groups. To unpack this, we need to consider the political context. Badenoch is competing for credibility on immigration against both Labour and Reform UK. Labour has promised to end hotel use for asylum seekers by the end of the Parliament. Reform calls for tents. Badenoch's camps suggests appearing pitched as a middle ground, not hotels in town centres, not tents in fields, but something that she can brand as controlled, policed and temporary. Yet history shows that such facilities, once established, rarely remain temporary and quite easily become overcrowded and unsanitary. Then there are historical precedents. Britain has used internment camps before, on the Isle of Man during both World Wars for enemy aliens, and in Kenya during the Mau Mau uprising. In both cases, what began as security measures became moral and legal stains on our history. Across the Channel, the Calais jungle is a modern cautionary tale: overcrowding, poor sanitation, violence and exploitation. From a legal perspective, such camps would raise questions under the Refugee Convention, to which Britain is a signatory. Asylum seekers are entitled to have their claims processed promptly and to live in dignity while that happens. Prolonged detention in large isolated camps could be challenged as unlawful deprivation of liberty. The UK already faces such litigation over Napier Barracks in Kent, where conditions were considered inadequate. There's also the practical challenge. A camp large enough to house thousands would require infrastructure, healthcare, security, food supply, transport, and would almost certainly face protests from the very communities Badenoch aims to reassure. And policing them is not straightforward. The history of mass accommodation sites show that they can become flashpoints, not solutions. The rhetorical framing is significant. Phrases like hassle into communities risk dehumanizing asylum seekers, casting them as problems rather than people, and such language has political utility. It signals toughness to a restless conservative base, but it carries moral consequences, feeding into a climate of fear and hostility. The moral question is stark. Britain has prided itself on offering refuge to those fleeing war and persecution, from the Huguenots in the 17th century to the kinder transport children of the 1930s and the Syrians of recent years. We must ask, would we have housed those people in camps, policed and separated them from the rest of society? If not, why would we now treat Sudanese, Afghan or Yemeni families in that way? Finally, there is the political risk. Camps could become a defining symbol, either of resolve or of cruelty, depending on who's telling the story. In the 1990s, Australian politicians introduced offshore detention to deter migrants. It did reduce arrivals, but left a legacy of human rights scandals that continues to damage Australia's reputation. In a world of instant media and viral imagery, one photograph from a badly run camp could become an emblem of national shame. In short, Badenoch's proposal is not just about housing logistics, it's about the kind of country Britain wants to be. And the choice is between integration, even with its challenges, and segregation with all its risks. History suggests that the latter may satisfy political short-termism, but will be judged harshly in the long run. If we measure ourselves only in how we treat the deserving in easy times, we learn nothing. The true test is how we treat the vulnerable when it's politically inconvenient to do so. On that score, camps should set off alarm bells for anyone who values both justice and Britain's moral standing.